Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new independent Era 1 premium heavy tank, the Spaceman, which is part of the new Metal Fest KISS collaboration. So if you do like that video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Spaceman, as you can see, it's basically the BZ-176 in Cold War Era 1, although it is different in the fact that it's way faster in its mobility, and it's got a different kind of gun. The gun acts very, very similarly to the Technodrome or the Nemesis TD, the part of the Warhammer collaboration, in the fact that it's got 3 different rounds that have, well, 2 actually have the same reload, 1 has a different reload. So the standard round has a 16.4 second reload when you're fully loaded, and it has a lower alpha. The second round has a 19.1 second reload when you're fully loaded, but again, it's got a higher alpha. And then the third round is a rocket-propelled HE, which is a kind of a half-new mechanic in the fact that it's a rocket, just like the unguided rockets you get on something like the Night Stalker or the Calliope, etc. But it's a HE round, so it acts exactly like a HE round, but it just fires like a rocket, so it goes in a straight arrow, which is quite helpful at times, and sometimes it can be a bit of pain, but yeah. But that's got the same 16.4 second reload, so if you know me with the Technodrome and the Nemesis, I just don't see the point in firing the standard round with the lower alpha. You may as well just fire the higher alpha round, and that's basically what I do in this tank, and it racks up damage very consistently. It hits very hard. Yes, the reload's very slow, but you've got the armor to take hits, you've got the mobility to get into great positions, and if you play that peekaboo playstyle, this thing can rack up damage really, really well, and it just hits so hard. It's such a satisfying tank to play. And is it probably a little bit too good? I feel like this is like the Thrungva. It's probably a little bit too good in Era 1 in the fact that it absolutely slaps everything. It does have lower penetration though, which can struggle with certain vehicles like an IS-4M, for example, but generally it hits really hard. It does quite hard on the module damage and stuff. That's a good point with the module damage though. This thing does like getting ammo racked. Its ammo rack gets damaged all the time in this vehicle, so that's something you do have to be careful of. So let's get into the statistics of the Spaceman. So as you can see, we've got 55.6 km/h top speed. The English is hard, people. 55.6 km/h top speed, 20.9 km/h reverse speed, 1,050 horsepower engine, which is 18.39 horsepower per ton ratio, which means, yes, this tank flies to its top speed because it's got a great power to weight ratio. The terrain resistances aren't that great. They're 2.3, 1.3, and 1.1. But to be honest, they don't hold the tank back absolutely. You don't feel the terrain resistance. You don't feel a difference in going across any different terrains. So just like every other tank in Cold War, they don't really affect the terrain, the mobility that much at all. You've got a 12% internal fire chance, which is on the lower end of fire chances. But again, this thing likes to get set on fire. It's just like the ammo rack. It likes to get set on fire, it likes to get ammo racked. That 12% doesn't feel like it's correct in how much this thing does like getting set on fire. You've got a 4-second cooldown on the rocket boosters. You've got 5 rocket boosts, which boost for 10 seconds, and you generally get up to 60 to 65 kilometers an hour, which is lovely, and it, again, helps you to be very, very aggressive. It also means this tank can ram really, really well as well, which can be hilarious. 32 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed is neither fast nor is it slow for an Era 1 vehicle, and it means it does turn decently quickly on its tracks, but you might want to help that out with the cruise skills, especially for rocket boosting. It can be helpful to change directions. 420 meters of view range is good enough as well for the tank. You'll get it up to a decent level, which you can spot for yourself. It's a lot lower than a lot of the vehicles in Era 1, to be fair, but it's still, you'll get it good enough that you can spot for yourself decently in the Spaceman. 25 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed is slower than the hull, so bear that in mind that the turret will take a bit of time to get onto target. 2.4 accuracy during rotation with a 5.87 accuracy during movement is dreadful, and then you've got a 3.2 second aim time on top of that. It means the aim circle becomes massive, and it does feel like you take a bit of time to get this gun aimed in. But with all 3 gun perks and the gun stabilizer, you do get it down to a decent level, not a good level, but a decent level, where it doesn't feel as bad as these base stats actually make it look out like it's going to be. And you'll be able to get this gun aimed in no time at all, and you'll just hit people very hard with the round that I tend to use, the 760 Alpha round. You've got 10 degrees of gun depression, which means this tank is incredibly flexible on a ridgeline. It's kind of where this tank wants to be because the turret armor is fantastic, same as the upper hull armor. The only place to really pen this thing is in the lower plate, or, well, that's just where to pen it, and you'll probably damage his hammer rack and set it on fire in that regard by doing that. But it means that you want to be hull down, where you're going to bounce all the shots off your turret and your upper plate, and you'll dish out the heavy hitting rounds that this thing can do out of its 160mm gun. You got 0.48 accuracy at 100 meters as well, by the way, which is absolutely atrocious. But again, you get it down to a decent enough level when you get it fully kitted out with the crew skills and stuff like that. Still not going to be good, and it still will derp shots at times. It is a big alpha gun, so it's going to do that. But especially at the ranges you tend to play this thing, which is quite close and personal, brawling on ridge lines or round corners playing peekaboo, you don't really feel it that badly because you're not really firing at range as often in this tank. 23-second reload, it says, but unfortunately with this kind of mechanic that it's got on the gun, like the Nemesis and the Technodrome, it doesn't tell you the individual reloads for each of the shells, which is why I say that the first shell, which is standard AP, when you've got it fully kitted out, like you're going to see with my setup, is a 16.4-second reload. The premium AP is a 19.1-second reload, and that rocket-propelled HE is a 16.4-second reload as well. So the premium AP is a longer reload than the standard 242 pen AP round, but it hits harder. So you do have 242 penetration on the standard AP and the premium AP, so the same penetration, but you've got 650 alpha on the standard and 760 on the premium round, and the premium round reloads about 2 and a bit seconds, well, 2 point something seconds slower, nearly 3 seconds slower, essentially. Quick maths is hard, okay? It is what it is. So, yeah, it does reload slower, but the DPM is around the same area, same as the Technodrome and Nemesis, where they don't really lose DPM that much, or it's like 50 to 100 DPM, depending on which round you use. It's just that you have the choice of using a lower alpha round, a higher alpha round, or the higher, well, the rocket-propelled HE, which is a bit different to the other two, naturally. As you do have 86mm of penetration on that rocket-propelled HE, which can be nice for going through 4005s, the rears of quite a few vehicles, and a lot of the lightly armoured vehicles as well. For 840 alpha is nice, but it has quite a good splash. It's got 4 meter splash radius, 680 meters a second shell velocity on that rocket-propelled HE. It tends to splash for 3 to 400, which is lovely for the round, and generally as well, if you pen it, you'll do a lot of damage, which is lovely. 1,100 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP and premium round as well is above average. It still means you have to give a decent amount of lead at distance, but to be honest, it doesn't feel that bad for this kind of gun. I expected the gun handling or the shell velocity to be a lot derpier for what this kind of gun is. So that 1,100 meters a second is actually not too bad at all. And you do have a 155% silver bonus, as well as the 120% commander XP earn rate, which means this tank is good at craning? English is hard, people. I don't know what's going on today. It means it's a very good crew trainer, as well as the fact that it makes very good silver as well. Unless you fire the full premium AP, in which it still makes good silver for firing full premium AP, because Era 1, Cold War, still makes good silver in it. But yeah, that's the bonuses for the vehicle. And in terms of the modules, as you can see, the engine bay is there, and that's why this tank likes getting set on fire, because if anyone pens you with high pen rounds through this bar here, which they can if they're firing the high pen rounds, they're likely to set you on fire through your engine, which can be pain, and especially if they shoot you through the lower plate as well. I know it's not behind it, but it generally does set it on fire. The ammo rack is everywhere on this tank, so if they shoot you through this drive wheel, they're going to damage your ammo rack. If they shoot you through the centre of the town, centre of the hull, their brain is really not doing well today. Central of the hull, they are likely to be able to damage your ammo rack, blow your lid. It's not going to be a good time. Also, back of the turret damages the ammo rack too. Like I say, this thing is made of ammo racks. It does like to get the ammo rack damaged. You could definitely run safe stowage or something like that to reduce the amount of chance that you're going to have these modules knocked out, because it could be quite useful. And that's where the crew sits in the Spaceman as well. And like I say, with the armour on this vehicle, the turret armour is absolutely solid, and when you're using the tank when it's hull down, because of the angling and stuff, it will bounce a lot of shots. The place to be able to pen this vehicle is that lower plate, which is only 100mm thick. It is well sloped, but it's only 100mm thick, which is the place to pen it, and you'll likely set it on fire as well. And like I say, that mid plate is actually 240 well sloped as well, which means that, again, if you're firing the higher pen rounds in Era 1, like stuff that M103s have on heat, or IS-4Ms firing their premium, stuff like that, you can go through that mid-plate as well, and again, you're more likely to set it on fire or damage ammo rack depending on which side you shoot it. The upper plate, though, does bounce a lot, which is nice, and that's just because of that angle being very, very good. But this thing is a hull-down tank. It wants to go use 10 degrees of gun depression, limit tanks to only shooting its turret, and then dish out the hard-hitting rounds. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment for this vehicle? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, 6 cents, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Clutch Braking, Track Mechanic, and Controlled Impact. Now, I run Controlled Impact for the memes, because I tend to try and ram things as much as possible with the rocket boosters that this thing can have, and it will do a good amount of damage when you do ram people, so it's nice to be able to reduce the amount of damage coming into your tank, and increase your ram damage as well with Controlled Impact. Clutch Braking to make the track traverse better, so that I can make this tank feel a little bit more agile with its mobility, so I can turn left and right easier, that sort of thing, especially when you've got the rocket boosters going. It's quite nice for that. All 3 gun perks, because yes, this gun is genuinely dreadful. You want to help it out as much as possible, because it's good when you actually get it fully set out, but terrible if you don't. So you want to run all 3 gun perks on the Spaceman. And then in terms of the equipment, I run food, because that makes everything about the tank better, and it's just vital to this kind of tank. The advanced load to get the best out of the DPM. The gun stabilizer, again, to get the accuracy during rotation and movement down as low as possible. And vents, which is interchangeable for anything, by the way. Vents to maximise the reload, the accuracy during rotation and movement. Everything about this vehicle is why I want to run vents, just to get that little bit extra out of it. But vents is quite easily take-outable. It's a new word, but I'm doing it. Because you could run the traction system to go faster, and you would go faster. You'd hit 60 kilometers an hour, you'd go even faster with your rocket boosters. You could do that quite easily. You could run the advanced gun laying drive alongside the gun stabilizer as well to get that aim time down, because that aim time is poo. You could also, if you wanted to, run the advanced armour to reduce the amount of damage coming into the tank, and then run armour angling as well to reduce it by 10%. Or you could run the spall liner in conjunction with your controlled impact to be able to reduce the amount of damage coming in from ramming, and it means this thing will be an absolute ram machine, and you can meme around with the ramming capacity of the vehicle. Plenty of ways you can set up the vehicle. I just like to make everything about the tank, and especially the reload, better, just to help everything out on it. It's really down to you and how you want to play this vehicle, realistically. And like I say, I just don't see the point in using the 650 Alpha. I'd much rather just keep reloading either one of the 2 rounds and have that higher 760 Alpha. It's just the way it is. So, with the Spaceman now fully kitted out, it's got that same top speed because we've not really helped it out. The ground resistances have got better, and in fact, they're not too bad, realistically. They're not good, but they're not terrible. But like I say, you don't really feel the difference anyway. This tank doesn't feel sluggish. You've got the 35 kilometer an hour top speed on its, well, 35 degrees a second hull rotation speed. I don't know why I went 35 kilometers an hour. 35 degrees a second hull rotation speed, which means that the tank does turn decently quickly on its tracks because we've helped it out with the clutch braking. 465 meters of view range, which, like I say, isn't great for an Era 1 vehicle. A lot of Era 1 vehicles are hitting 500 plus. But it's not terrible, and it means you can spot for yourself decently well, and plus you've got true vision, so, you know, it is what it is. You've now got 27.69 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed, which is still way slower than the tracks, and if you know me, I like to usually make that better, but the general mobility of the vehicle, I want to make feel a little bit better with the clutch braking. Is general preference with this tank that I've changed that around. Because like I say, normally, with the turret traverse being slower, I would take rapid aim instead of clutch braking, but there we go. We've got a 1.13 accuracy during rotation and a 3.25 accuracy during movement, which is a lot better than it was. Still not good, but still a lot better than it was. And it means the aim circle still is big, but it's nowhere near the level it was before we kitted the vehicle out. So that's nice for this vehicle. 2.89 second aim time as well is a lot better than the 3.2 it was, which means it still takes a while to aim in. You'll still feel the aim time, but it's not horrendous like 3.2. And you've got 0.38 accuracy at 100 meters, which is not accurate by any means. But to be honest, like I say, at the ranges you tend to play this vehicle, it's not that bad. If you were to run the GLD, let's have a quick look at what the aim time would actually get down to if we were to do that. So we drop vents, we run the GLD, and now we actually have a 2.59 second aim time, which is still not great, but it's better. But the reload has dropped for dropping vents. And like I say, with the reloads now on this vehicle, you've got a 16.4 second on the standard AP, the 19.1 second reload for the premium AP, and 16.4 for the rocket-propelled HE. So, yeah, bear in mind that you do have different reloads on the rounds, and let's say I just prefer to have 2 shells and have it in my brain that I only need to switch between the 2 shells for whichever purpose I want, as I don't really see the point in loading a standard round that, yeah, sure, it reloads 3 seconds faster, but the DPM's around the same, and it just hits not as hard. I'd rather hit hard all the time, and then just bear the reload, right? But yeah, that's just me. Like I say, that's the Spaceman. The Spaceman is really solid for Era 1, like really, really good. The gun handling can be annoying, but the mobility is solid for it. The armor works well enough, and it just hits like a truck. It really does. And yeah, that's the Spaceman. Like I say, this tank, you can get a 35% discount on it if you wait for the community challenge and all that good stuff. So if you want to pick this thing up, do wait so you can get the best deal or the best bang for your buck, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's the Spaceman. So what I'm going to do now is send you into the replays where you can watch this tank in action, see how it handles, and just see if it's a bit of you or not. And hopefully we won't have any more brain farts while watching the replays. So I'll see you in the replays. So here we are in the replays with the Spaceman, and this first game we're here on this map, which is Swamp. And on Swamp, what I'm going to do is use the rocket boosters, use the mobility of the Spaceman to get down to the position at G8, and then go hold down, use the 10 degrees of gun depression, and just try and keep slapping out these rounds. And as you can see, the mobility on this vehicle is really, really nice for the type of tank it is. If you think it's just like the BZ-176 from World War II, absolutely not, because that tank is slow as anything. This tank does not feel the differences with its mobility whatsoever, because it is just super fast, and when you need to get to position pretty quickly, you can see we're going at about 65 kilometers an hour on flat with the rocket boosters, which is extremely mobile for this era. So we're going to get to the position that we want to be in, which is really poking over this little ridge, only exposing our turret, although we are going to overexpose our side a little bit too much at times and give people our drive wheel, which can be a bit easy because it's not a front-mounted turret. The turret's mounted dead center of the tank, so it can be a bit easy to, when you poke around corners like this, just poke around with a little bit too much of your drive wheel. It makes it easy for them to get shots. And like I say, if you're not careful, they'll damage your ammo rack as well for doing that. So you can see the aim time there when we were trying to go for the shot into the M103, but I decided to get rid of the T95E3. We would take a few hits for that straight through the side, but when you're at that close range, like I say, you don't really worry about the gun handling too much. We see the IS-4M directly behind us, so I decided, okay, I'm going to go after this guy. Thankfully, Alu and his BZ has also done the same. We put 2 shots into the engine deck of that dude. Oh, my lord, that poor guy. He lost so many hit points so quickly, and we're up to 1,969 damage with 220 assistance. We're bouncing all the shots from across the way, because, like I say, this armor on this tank is really not that bad. If they hit the lower plate, naturally they're going to go through it. If they're firing the extremely high pen rounds from things like the IS-4Ms, the M103s, that sort of thing, they can go through that mid-plate. But if they're standard medium tanks, light tanks, or even just firing the standard from those tanks that we've just mentioned, they'll still struggle to go through the mid-section of this tank anyway. So we're just waiting for our reload to go in so we can get some shots into either the 430U, the M103, and the M103 managed to back off, so we put a shot straight through the side of that Object 430U, and we did over 800 damage and tracked him, which means that the poor guy ended up taking a big hit as well, feeding us some tracking assist. And you can see the reload is pretty long on this vehicle, but that was a slim to nothing shot on that M103, and it went in. And that's what I'm talking about with the gun handling. Yes, the gun handling on paper is really not very good, but apart from the occasional derp shot, which RNGs of giveth, RNGs of taketh, right? That's just the way it is. The gun handle is really not that bad, and it hits really hard pretty damn consistently. Obviously, you are going to miss shots. Like I say, it is a big 160mm derpish gun, but hitting even shots like that on the Object, the 295E3, sorry, no problem. Gun handling does not feel bad at all on this vehicle. You just have to put up with the occasional shot where you think you've got someone dead to rights and the gun goes, you know what, occasionally, I'm just going to hit the floor now, and you go, oh, thanks, but I'll just hit the shot on the move, no problem whatsoever. Great, you know. So this is what I'm talking about with the mobility, by the way. You don't feel the ground resistances whatsoever. We're going over swampy terrain, and we don't slow down at all. Usually, especially in World War II, you go over swampy ground like that, you'd lose loads of mobility because you're going over a swamp. Doesn't really affect you in Cold War whatsoever, and that's what I mean. The terrain resistances aren't that good for a Cold War vehicle, but they just don't slow it down. They don't interact with it whatsoever. They don't really feel like they're there. You know what I mean? So when you look at the ground resistances, which you don't really have to take off-road driving because you won't feel it at all. You can just take anything else to affect whatever else you need to on this vehicle. So we finish off the T95E3. with the shot. We've now got the MX-30A in front of us, but we're waiting on the reload. I was hoping to try and rocket boost ram him, but he just uses mobility to get away from us, and then he rammed the SU-122-54, which I was like, oh, I just wanted the damage. Why? You know, sad times. But he got away from my ramming straight into an SU-122-54, which didn't go well for him, leaving only 2 tanks left on the enemy team. The medium tank down there, the Conway, which we can see from this little ledge if he was to poke around the corner in that little Castle Abbey area. And so we're just going to wait and see if we can get the shot. We can just about see him, but he's just not driving around the corner enough for us to get shots, which is really... Look at that. He's just teasing us. Not enough around the corner so we can get a shot into him, and our entire team goes and gets rid of him. And finish the game with a decent total there for the Spaceman on Swamp, with the epic victory, the 3 kills, 4.6k damage, 1500 assistance. And that was basically the average kind of game I was getting in the Spaceman, where there weren't big games. That was just the sort of average that I was getting. So we're on to the second replay, and this second replay we're here on this map, which is Nomini Nom. Now Nomini Nom is quite a big map, but once again it's quite nice for the Spaceman to be able to have those rocket boosters, have the good mobility, because it means we can get into the position that we want to be in pretty quickly, cut off the enemy team if they decided to push down the 8B line, and we can use the ridge lines to go hull down, use the 10 degrees of gun depression, and once again play that peekaboo playstyle that this thing is going to be king at, which is where we poke over, shoot someone for 760 or whatever we roll for, and then pull back and get safe. So I'm aiming for the ridgeline at B7, because there I can use the 10 degrees of gun depression, I can poke over, I can shoot people if they go into the open of the middle, and we can shoot the people that camp on their ridge lines as well. We've got to be careful though, because if we don't spot them, we can try and use true vision, but it's a bit awkward on this ridge line in front of us because of the grass, which makes it quite awkward to actually be able to see them, because all you see is grass, like you can see, which is why I always say I just run, when people say they don't run the enhanced targeting info, it's not for the armor penetration indicator that we run it for, it's for those outlines, because a position like this is completely useless to you if you don't run that, because you can't see them, you have to overexpose yourself to be able to actually do the damage. Although we're not using the right section of this ridgeline, because we still have to do that anyway as we go over to shoot the Turan 5SH. We take the hit from the Turan 5SH and you see me go, oh yeah, I'm just not using the right section here. Okay, I just need to adjust my angle on this ridgeline to get the better of the incline to be able to fully use the 10 degrees gun depression and not overexpose my side, that sort of thing. So we go over, shoot the T-44A with the shot for 796, but no one really shot us either because we're using the full extent of our gun depression. Our turret armor is the only thing that they can see, and we're just waiting on the reload, which is what you're going to be spending most of your time doing in this vehicle, to be honest, is just pulling back, going, we're reloading. Oh, I'm reloaded. Slap. Pull back. Do. We're now reloading once again. You know, it's one of those things for the Spaceman, because it's got that long reload, you will spend a bit of time twiddling your thumbs. But then when you're reloaded, you go, oh, okay, it's time for death to you, Mr. Turan 5SH. So we poke over, shoot the Turan, and we miss. And that's what I'm talking about with the gun handling. You can hit all sorts of shots, like we hit that shot on the T95E3 at 500 meters quite easily. Point blank shot, well, not point blank, it's not really point blank, it's 200 meters, but you get my point. Shorter range shot on the Turan 5SH, straight underneath him, because lol, the way it goes. But he's now on the move, no problem, straight in, 780, tracking him in place as well, and he gets shut down by the object 430U. Yeah, that's just the way it is. So we're now going to rocket boost, which is it's a bit of a dangerous move, to be fair. They've still got a lot of tanks left alive. There's still 4005s out there, which could hurt us. But we see the SHA-25T, but we couldn't quite get the shot in. Aiming up for the shot into the 268 into his side here. Get it fully aimed. And it flies over the top of him because, yeah, like I say, gambling can be derpy at times. So we rocket boost once again to get ourselves up to the ridgeline for safety, and then once we're here, we can poke over the ridgeline and hopefully shoot any of these dudes who have to pull back. So we see the 268. I would like to get rid of the 268, but also there's a 4005. As much as we want to get rid of a 268 because it's got a hard-hitting gun and he won't really struggle with our armor, 4005 is bigger priority. We really want to get rid of that guy. So we put a big shot into him. We're up to 4.4k damage because we don't want 183mm of pain, and he gets shut down by the FV-107. Now we're nearly reloaded. The 268s come out to try and shoot the light tank. We slap a shot in for 765, and there's still 6 tanks left on the enemy team. We've got 4 of them directly in front of us, and there's the 2 tanks down at GH7. So you can see I'm just keeping an eye on what I'm going to shoot next. I want to kind of go over and get this medium tank, and with the 268 popping smoke, the best option is to go after the Turan 5SH. Wait for the upper plate shot, because I was hoping to maybe set him on fire. But we low roll for 700 odd, and that FV107 should hopefully finish him off, and in fact the Type 69-2 did. So there's the light tank and the T95E3 directly in front of us, so we're going to go get rid of these guys before we turn around to go see if we can deal with the other guys across the way. So we go over, hit the M41A1 on the move. I was going to rocket boost into the T95E3 for the ram, but we didn't get the opportunity to do it, which is such a sad time, and the other 2 guys end up getting shut down across the way. So we finished the game with a pretty damn solid total there for the Spaceman. We finished with the epic victory, 1 kill, 6.5k damage, 284 assistance damage, the 3rd class, the Confederate, the high caliber, with that 1289 base XP, which in base XP terms is a fairly average game, but yeah, that 6.5k is a nice damage total there for an Era 1 vehicle. So we're on to the 3rd replay, and this 3rd replay we're here on this map, which is the new one that's just come into the game, Death Valley. And Death Valley is rather large, which means it's going to take us a bit longer to get into the fight, but again, it's not really much of an obstacle for the Spaceman, because we do have that 55 km/h top speed. We have the 65 if we boost into our rockets as well, although we go a little bit faster naturally as we were going down the downslope. And when there's ridge lines like this to climb, we're not really that bothered, because we're still doing 40 kph over those ridge lines, because the rocket boosters are propelling us up that hill. So you can see me looking across the way, because that's where people tend to appear when they come out of the enemy spawn, but no one was there. So we've managed to get to the position that I want to be in on Death Valley, which is this little ledge up here, because I can see across so much of the map from this position, and I can try and find people to be able to smash with our gun. And if we need to load the rocket-propelled HE, that's what we're going to do as well, to be able to splash people or go for the lightly armoured targets. So we saw the Charioteer. I'm just looking to see if I can find another tank, and there we go. We see the IS-4M, and like I say, that's the little alleyway they tend to come down. As you're going across the 8-9, you can look straight down it, and a lot of the time you will find people. And we did find the IS-4M, but 242 pen, like I say, is going to struggle with an IS-4M. We have seen the T95E3 though. I was loading rocket-propelled HE, so I could splash the IS-4M, but you can see it's a rocket, it's not a standard shell, and the way that it works is that it fires like a rocket. So instead of having a bit of shell loop or anything like that, when you fire it, it will just come straight out of the gun, and it will go in a perfectly straight line, as you see right there. But it works exactly like HE. So it will splash damage people, and when it pens, it will end up doing the full damage, and it doesn't like spaced armor, so it won't pen spaced armor. So I see the tank that's down there that's unspotted. I fire the rocket-propelled HE, but as you can see, because the shell velocity on that rocket-propelled HE is 680 meters a second, it is that little bit slower than the standard round, and that 430 managed to get himself back. We load back to the standard, the premium AP, so that we can hit this guy for 760. He's out in the open. We leave the shot, put the shot in for 746. And like I say, that's why I just would rather fire the premium round than the standard round, not even bother with the standard round, because I just like to hit people hard with that round no matter what, as I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice by firing the lower alpha for reasonably the same DPM. So we get the shot fully aimed in, hit the 430, and like I say, that's what the accuracy is like on this tank. He's a good distance away there. We got it fully aimed, it hits. That's generally my experience of the tank. So the IS-4M has got spotted down there. I might struggle with this guy again with 242, especially at the angles he's at. So I'm going to just aim up to see if I can maybe hit him in the side or track him. We do end up tracking him, but we didn't end up penning him. So we load the rocket-propelled HE so that I can start splashing this guy for about 200 to 300 damage and just whittle him down eventually. So he is just sitting there waiting. So we're going to aim for the engine deck in the hope that maybe I get a big hit on that. But it doesn't go in, and we do 221 damage. Pull back so that we can reload this rocket-propelled HE, because he is just sitting there, but I feel like he's just given up. He was playing a second ago, so I'm not sure what's happened. I feel like he's just given up here. So we go for the shot straight into his side, 348, and that's what I'm talking about with the splashes. It tends to splash for a decent amount fairly consistently. So that T95E3 takes a hit. He takes a hit from across the way. I'm thinking, that was something over there. No, it was probably the tanks at D6. So I'm going to fire the shot on the move, and as you can see, with the rockets, and it's something I've noticed with the rockets, is they do just travel in a straight line of the gun, so it doesn't matter how big the aim circle is, they haven't really gone skew if. It's just if the gun is pointing a direction, they act like the rockets on any of the other vehicles, where it doesn't really matter about the accuracy that you have on the vehicle, they just travel in a straight line firing from the gun. It doesn't come out skew if like some of the other rounds. So, we're using the rocket boosters here to get up behind the E3s. We do have the rocket-propelled HE. With 86 pen, we should be able to go through the back of the engine deck. You can see I'm just trying to find the shot into this guy, and he just pulled back at the wrong moment there, and we ended up hitting him in the side and not penning it. So we spent all that time with the interference there, trying to just get the shot in, and it didn't work, so we only splashed him for 300 odd. We go back to the premium AP again, so we can start slapping out with this 760 Alpha round. Go over so that we can put this guy down to a one-shot, hit him for 741, take a few hits in the side, get fairly lucky there that we didn't get penned, but the shot from the T95E3 instantly threw the drive wheel, tracked and penned us, and damaged the ammo rack. And that's what I'm talking about. As soon as you get shot through that left-hand drive wheel, ammo racks. You tend to get ammo racked. And it's really bad for this vehicle because look how long the reload's gone. It's gone very, very long indeed, which means we are stuck waiting for this reload, stuck waiting for a repair kit to come back in. And this is one of the reasons I'll say that possibly running something like safe stowage is a possibility for this vehicle, just to be able to make it so that you can not get ammo racked as easily. So we're looking for the shot into the 4005, but he is pulling back. The E3 YOLO's in, which is a bad thing for him because we've got plenty of team here, and he gets shut down. I'm just keeping my eye on where that 4005 was because you never know where he'll be. I don't want to take that big hit. We'll look for the cupola shot on this T95E3, just waiting for the aim time, and it ricochets off the top of his turret. The opposition Spaceman ends up missing his shot, so we're just going to close in so we can use the ridgeline directly in front of us, go hull down again and slap these rounds out. We know there's something over that ridgeline firing because we've seen it, but I'm just going to go pressure the Spaceman that we know is here. So I'm trying not to be too aggressive and give this guy too easy a shot. So I'm going to use the dead wrecks of his teammates, or my teammates, whichever one they are, to be able to make it as hard as possible. He pens us anyway, we pen him, but we set him on fire, putting him down to a position where he will be a one-shot for our splash of the rocket-propelled HE. So we switch instantly to the rocket-propelled HE so that we can fire that round into the Spaceman and just splash him to death, waiting on the reload, and I'm fully expecting this guy to play very, very safe. But in fact, he pulls out to try and get a shot at us, so we're very fortunate there that that guy actually didn't pen us, because he could have fired and killed us at any point there. But he ended up not firing in time and we shut him down. We moved a little bit too early. We moved far too early there for where we were reloaded, and it could have come back to haunt us, but hey, we've got away with it. We know there's a tank again over this ridgeline. There it is. It's the Type 773. We've got the rocket-propelled HE and hopefully go through the side of him with it. But it doesn't pen. It ends up splashing him for 352. So we switch back to the premium AP so that we can guarantee the kill on him when we do get loaded. But he seems to be running around this rock to get behind us. But no, Mr. Type 73. Type 773. We're not allowing this. So we hit the guy on the move, finish him off for 352, leaving just one tank left alive on the enemy team. It is the Char 40T, who was over in the corner at D0. So if he was at D0, and that medium tank isn't seeing him yet, I reckon, because he's a very mobile vehicle, he's going to be running away. And his avenue of escape is either through the 9 line, which we should see him if he does that, or it's down the AB line. So I'm going to try and cut off the route. We get spotted, and I'm trying to find out where it was. There we go. We see him with the true vision. Spot him up. Aim. Fire the shot. Finish him off for 694. And again, that's why I fired the premium AP. If we'd fired the standard round then, we'd just been loading standard, we wouldn't have killed him. We finished the game with 3 kills, 7,251 damage, 1952 assistance damage, the first class, the Confederate, for that 1718 base XP. Really nice game there for the Spaceman on Death Valley. And I think that really showed everything about the tank, to be perfectly honest with you, where the Amarax goes all the time. If you get shot through that drive wheel, you've got the good mobility that even on the bigger maps you can get about really easily. You can keep the rounds slapping out with that premium AP where it just consistently does damage, and the accuracy isn't even that bad. Occasionally it will derp shots, but it's still not that bad. And then you've got the rocket propelled HE, which you can use to splash people like the IS-4M that you saw quite easily. It fires in a straight line, and it just, like I say, it's a rocket that acts perfectly like HE. So you end up just splashing people, and as long as you don't hit spaced armor like we kept doing, you'll pen people for that as well. So we're on the fourth and final replay, and this one, we're on this map, which is Live Oaks. We're just using the rocket boosts, again, to try and get ourselves into a position where we can dip or die, take the dip, push the enemy team, and try and win this flank. We do have 5 of us over here, which is quite nice. So we see the M103A1 shoot the guy in the side of the turret, and we weren't even really that aimed there. We still managed to hit it anyway. Once again, that's what I'm saying about the accuracy. Don't believe the stats page as much. It doesn't feel as bad as it says it is. It will derp shots because it is a derpy gun, and you've got to expect it. But generally, I found it's pretty consistent in the way that these rounds fly out and hit targets, even with shots on the move like that on the M103A1. So I'm going to use the rocket boosters to get myself into this dip, because the M103s have stayed back behind this ledge, which is, if they've lost this flank and they lost the dip, it's probably actually the perfect play for them. So we are aiming the shot into the side of the 4005, because once again, I want to get rid of the 4005 if I can. Load the rocket-propelled HE so I can slam this 840 alpha round through the turret of that 4005 and get rid of him. We can still see him with the true vision moving up. We spot him up. Smoke is popped, but we still managed to hit him with that rocket-propelled HE. He should now be a one-shot for our premium AP, so we switch back to the premium AP, especially so that we can get the shots into these M103s, who are being very aggressive in trying to get shots into us. I thought if these guys are being this aggressive, they should start taking hits, which is starting to happen. So with the M103 tracked directly in front of us, just waiting for the reload, but it doesn't quite get into play. Aim up the shot into the side of that M103A1. We end up doing 660 alpha there, but didn't track him, and that's what I was really hoping to do. I was really hoping to track that M103A1 so that he'd get pinned on the ridgeline, give us some tracking assist, all that good stuff. So I could go over and shoot the M103, but I decided the 268 is actually a bigger target because, again, it's a hard-hitting gun. It's got very good penetration. He will just blow through our armor, no problem, and I'd rather get rid of that guy than the M103A1 at this point. Now he's a one-shot. That's perfect. Just waiting on the reload so we can go hello there, peek, boom! Get rid of the 268 for our first kill of this game, up to 5.1k damage, and the M103A1 gets shut down as well. I was going to rocket boost into the dip and then go straight over to a position like E89, but I see the IS-4M, I waste the rocket boost in the end, and put the lower plate shot for 242 pen straight through the IS-4's lower plate, putting him down to a position where he's a one-shot for most vehicles, and now I use the last rocket boost of the vehicle to get ourselves up to where the rest of the enemy team is, because there's only half, well, we've got 12 people left, they've got 6. Make that 5 now with the Conway gone, and we can find the shot into the 4005, but the rest of them are all towards their town area, except for the IS-4M, so I've got to try and get myself ahead of my team, so I can just get and squeeze that little bit extra of damage out of this game. So we see the 4005, he is behind that house. I could load the rocket-propelled HE, but I don't really want to, just seeing if I could get the shot into the IS-4M, and the reason I don't want to load the rocket-propelled HE at this point is because I might get the opportunity to shoot some of the heavy tanks, and that rocket-propelled HE won't do too much against them. So we make sure the shell's aimed in, slap the guy for 803. That means that 4005 is now a one-shot for the Spaceman, which is glorious. Just waiting on this reload now, and we'll go get rid of that 4005 and progress on towards the 2 medium tanks and the heavy tank. I'm not too fussed about the 4005 though, because I can take a hit from him, and yeah, he just snaps the AP shell in for 1,000. I try and snap him, and I miss. Of course, the 183mm gun has better accuracy than me, which it probably has actually very similar accuracy. But there you go. So, with 2 tanks left on the enemy team, there's the Char 25T, the IS-4M. I'm really hoping to get a shot into either one of these guys, and, well, I'm hoping to kill the IS-4M with a shot, ram the Char 25T, that would be glorious, but in fact, Char 25T ends up driving directly in front of us. We've put a shot into him, the IS-4M gets shut down by the other Spaceman, and, well, this Char 25T is boned, and he gets finished off by the Turan 5SH. And we finished the game with a really great total there for the Spaceman, which, like I say, is an absolutely solid tank. Finished with the 1 kill, 8.1k damage, 177 assistance. The Sniper Medal, the High Caliber, the 2nd class for 1446 base XP. Really great game there for the Spaceman, which is a damn solid tank in Era 1. Made you great credits, made you good crew training. And, like I say, even with firing full premium AP, that sort of thing, we still made 150k in the first 2 replays run around that mark, and we made nearly 200k in both of these replays. If we're using the 2x silver boost, that's 400k. If you're firing obviously the standard AP, you'd make a lot more, but yeah, the premium AP is just way better. So that's the Spaceman. So thank you very much everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success!